Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special Hour of Code webinar. My name is Tara, and I work here on the education department here at Ozobot.
And I'm Teresa, and I write some of the lessons for Ozobot and do other things here as well.
So we're really excited because Hour of Code's coming up, and I know it's a month away, it's in December, but it's never too early to start planning what you want to be focusing on during your Hour of Code or the entire week of code. It varies depending on what school, how you set up the Hour of Code. So we're here to kind of help guide you with using some lessons with Ozobot for the Hour of Code. So the first thing I am going to do is ask that everybody please hold all of their questions to the very end of the webinar. There is a little section on the control panel on the right that allows you to type in a question. So if anything comes up while we're presenting, just go ahead and jot it down, and then at the end we will read through all of those questions, and then we'll read them out loud so everyone can hear them and then answer them. So there's always time for that after the presentation. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in, and I'm going to share my screen so that everyone can see. I'm going to take myself off the webcam. Oh, one more thing we want to do. I'm going to jump back on. We have a couple poll questions that we'd like you to answer. So let me go ahead and start this and launch. Okay, so our first question is, are you already using Ozobots in the classroom? And you can select one of the following. I've been using them for more than a year, for less than a year. I just received the Ozobots and I'm looking to use them this year. I do not currently have them, but are looking to purchase, and my colleagues have Ozobots that I have access to. All right, and looks like most of you have voted. I'll go ahead and share the results. 31% have been using them more than a year, 31% less than a year, 13% have just received them, 6% do not, and then 19% have access to Ozobots that their colleagues own. So that is great. For the most part, everyone has them, but not to worry, there are lessons that we have for the Hour of Code where you don't need a physical robot. Our next poll is, if we develop more lessons, which subjects would be most helpful to your classroom situation? And we have the option computer science, science, math, art, and language arts. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the poll and share the results. 42% computer science, 32% science, 11% math, 0% art, and 16% language arts. And our last question for you today, which model are you currently using? So Bit, Evo, or both? For those of you who have the robots, you can go ahead and answer that question. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. 50% are Evo, 17%, oh, sorry, 50% Bit, 17% Evo, and then 33% both. Okay. Another thing to point out, we have lessons for both Evo and Bit, so don't worry about that. There is a lesson for each model. Okay, now I'm going to jump off, and so you can just focus on my screen. The first thing I want to point out is where to go for our Hour of Code page. There's not a direct link to get there from our website, but I'm going to share the link with everyone right now through the little chat on the control panel. So you should have the link to that now. So if you click on that, you can actually see the page that I am at right here. So this is a place where you can come to check out some of the lessons that we have highlighted for Hour of Code. You can see we have tutorials, popular tutorials, and they all vary. They'll show you Right here, if it requires Ozoblockly or if it's screen-free. So screen-free means that you would be using it with the markers and paper. And then it also has the grade levels. So you'll see right here we have this one works for grades 6 to 12. This one's kindergarten to first grade. So you can scroll down there and look at that. We have some information about our classroom kit. So if for those of you who have not purchased the Ozobots yet, if you're interested in purchasing them, this is a great place to go to kind of check out our different offerings for education. I'm going to scroll all the way up the top here. Now, right here is where you can download a certificate for the Hour of Code. So when you do the different lessons, the students complete these little activities or lessons, you can download that certificate and actually hand it to the students. So a lot of people don't know that we have this. So that's a really great document that you can download, and it's fun for all the kids to get after they've completed their little activities. And you'll also see that we've broken down the lessons by beginner with Ozobot, comfortable with Ozobot, and then this section is using it with Ozoblockly, so on the computer or the tablet. And then we have no Ozobot needed, which would be the screen-free markers and paper or computer tablet, but you do not need the physical device with you. So this is our code page. Come here, browse through it, take a look. Those are some of the lessons that Teresa is going to be going over later are located in this little Hour of Code section. And then let me also take you to the Hour of Code website. So I just went to hourofcode.com, and I'm going to show you how to find our lessons on this page because it's a little tricky. There's not a search feature. So when you're on the main page here, you'll actually see the activities section. I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And on the left-hand side, right here, there's a little banner that says Robotics and Circuits. You want to make sure to click on this button because that is where you'll find all of the Ozobot specific lessons. So I'm going to click there. And then here at the top, where it says Created By, you have the option to click on Ozobot, and you'll see all of our lessons will pop up there. So if you want to go to the Hour of Code website and find all of our lessons, they're located here. And the other Hour of Code page I just showed you was directly from, was our website for Hour of Code. Another thing I want to point out too is right here at the top, we have beginner, and then we also have, let's see, comfortable. So you can switch between these. So beginner using Ozobot, they're pretty brand new. They may know how to do some color codes. They may know how to do some programming on Ozoblockly, but they're not too familiar. So this is a perfect place to start for them. Comfortable would be if they already have been using the Ozobot for a while. They're really used to Ozoblockly. They may be doing some more advanced, they may be working in more advanced levels. So make sure that you pick which one works best for your students. And then we also have the grade levels here. So you can choose between pre-reader, which means they're not old enough to read yet. So these are great lessons to check out for them. And then grades 2 to 5, grades 6 to 8, and grades 9+. So I think that's all that I wanted to go over on these two websites. So we're going to jump into the actual, some of the lessons that we wanted to highlight on this webinar today. I'm going to switch over the presentation to Teresa now. Just give us 1 second.
Okay. Hello, everyone, again. So I am just on our page, which, again, you can access through the link we sent you. And then you can also, if you need to retype it later, ozobot.com/hour-of-code is where you'll find it. But again, you won't be able to see it through the Hour of Code activities page, which you're probably familiar with. You're definitely familiar with it now. So I'm going to go through some examples of lessons, and I'll start with some of our new lessons. So these are the 2 new lessons. If you have done one of our Halloween It was random story generator, but it was a random spooky story generator. That is very similar to this random story generator lesson. So if you've done that one before, then this is basically the same thing. But you can actually create your own theme with it if you want to. There are some, I'll just dive right in. So let's see. And this is this is going to be using Ozoblockly, and it's grades 4 to 8, but if you feel like this would work in your class, feel free. And then when you click that button, it takes you to the PDF. If you want to download it or print it or save it, you can find those buttons up here. It did not download to your website, or to your computer, sorry. Too much candy, sorry. Wow. So the point of this lesson is that you're going to be using a randomly moving robot, Bit or Evo, and it's going to stop on some pictures that you've made, and that's going to help you write a story. So that's where the randomness comes in, that's where the story comes in. So I will scroll down to the map, and then I'll go into the program a little bit real quick. So I think I can zoom out. So this is the map. You're going to fill in the outside with a color that you're going to also program your bot to bounce off of or make a U-turn on or a turn on. And then you can't use that color inside the map. So that's just the one gotcha for this. And so the way this works is like a verb. You see a fan, so spinning. And then an adjective could be, for this, could be like messy or artsy or something. And an adverb for the cat. Whatever the student feels, and they'll fill this in with pictures, whether it's a theme or not. And then I will show you how that works with a robot. So I will open up my camera. Okay, and then I think on your screens you can zoom in on my feed versus the page. So this was the Halloween one. It's empty. I just wanted to show you what it looked like in case you want to try and fit that in this week. That one is called Random Spooky Story Generator. You can find it on our website. But to get to the map that I've completed. So this is the map that I did. And I've done the border in blue, so there's no blue inside. And I'll just, oopsie, 1 second. Loading up my bot.
So whatever border color I make, I can't have that color inside the...
Right, because if my bot sees blue while it's going around inside of this map, it'll make that turn, which can add to the randomness, but you might get unexpected results. So you want to do something about that. And you have to start on this page, on the lesson I'm showing you now, you would start on Once Upon a Time. This is our spooky story. And so the bot is just moving around randomly, different speeds, different turns, different lights. And so it just paused and turned purple on this cat, which is a verb. So that might be, what's a verb for a cat? Like clawing or screaming, screeching, yeah. And then every time your bot turns purple and pauses, that's when you want to write down what you saw. And there's another program for bit as well. That was an empty verb, so maybe it's doing nothing. Okay, so that's just the basic mechanics of this lesson. And again, it's not a Halloween version for Hour of Code, but you can definitely do it. And so I'll go back to the lesson. And so what this also teaches you, especially for Hour of Code, we are excited to talk about different computer science topics, not just actual coding concepts, but also things that go along with it. So I've got a few more lessons here to show you that are in this theme, but this theme was about random numbers and what are they, and are they magical and like mysterious? Actually, especially for computers, random numbers are not so mysterious. A random number is often made just by pulling from the time in your computer in the milliseconds, and then it does some math to convert it into something else. So maybe it's a larger or a smaller number, and then it can fit within a range that you've chosen. So a random number is not so random, because if you get the same exact seed number, that time from your clock, you're gonna get the same output, and that's not really what you wanted. So this is partly gonna teach your students what is randomness, and they're also gonna find out about how one company uses a wall of lava lamps with a camera set on it, and then it collects random data from the pixels in the camera of the different movements and colors and heat signatures, I think, on the lava lamps. So this is, yeah, a deeper lesson on a computer science topic, not just coding. And let me just show you. This lesson also has the program explained on the left here. This is the main program, but we also have some functions. So if you want to show your students our random integer block, and then you can kind of discuss with them what they learned about random numbers. So there's just going to be some math in the background pulling from some number that changes, and that's how you get a random number. And let's see, and then this is also pretty important. Whatever program, oh no, it's broken. We'll fix it. They're all broken. No. I will fix that. But basically, so this is going to take us to our Ozobot program. The most important thing here is that you're going to choose the color of the border that you've colored. So the default is blue right now, and you can choose between red and green and blue. I don't recommend black because the map itself already has black in it, so that could cause confusion for your robot. So red, green, and blue. And then once you've chosen that, then you want to load the program. Students can also do some edits to these inputs. That's up to you or up to the students, and then the lesson describes what would be an appropriate edit. Okay, enough time on that lesson, so I'll close that out and I'll go back. And again, so sticking with the theme of kind of computer sciencey topics, trolling, the terrible behavior of trolling on the internet is something that I think young kids face, and teenagers have the worst of it. So this is a lesson kind of bringing to light the negativity that you can find through interacting on the internet, and then ways to combat it or avoid it, and how to be like nice to other people on the internet. So you can decorate your Evo. That's actually not the lesson. That's just a nice picture. This isn't decorating necessarily. So the way this works is you as a class will discuss, like, so here are some resources you'll use, the difference between good and bad fairy tale trolls, and then a student-written essay on different internet trolls. These are resources for you for background, but you could share them. This is a history of internet trolls from a Silicon Valley VC and coder, but wouldn't recommend it for your students. There's some swearing unless you're okay with that. So basically, I'll show you the program. Oh gosh, I need to do some editing here, but so I'll just have that ready for later. Basically, okay, you're going to introduce the topic of internet trolls with this lesson. How there's two types, there's good, or there's at least like non-aggressive ones, or ones that you find under a bridge that protect things. They're not going to go out and like try to hurt your feelings, whereas an internet troll is literally going to go out and say horrible things to you, and then you'll be upset. So I even wrote a poem for this, which you guys can check out. It's just a funny little thing that helps kids kind of see the difference between like a good troll or like a neutral troll and then a bad internet troll. You can draw a chart, again with the goal of letting kids know that this behavior is bad, whether they do it or they see it. It shouldn't hurt their feelings, or if it does, have some process to deal with it or to ignore it and not to take it as like how people really feel. And so what is the coding part? The coding part is we're going to create, we're going to have a program of our own troll made of our little Evo. So I'm going to run that program on Evo and show you. Okay.
He's ready.
He's ready. So this is my troll program. It is currently scanning and it's protecting me. So Tara, I want you to put your hands in front of Evo like you're going to try and attack me or steal something from me.
Oh.
So he jumps at you and tries to attack you and then comes back to defend me. And so that's like a pretty simplistic way of you can create an Evo to protect you, maybe like a really, really good troll that's on your side. So it's just like a fun way to make trolls positive. Every now and then he'll sigh, which I've created with beep sounds. So yeah, once in a while, also using randomness, it'll sigh. We'll see if it happens. And you can also put it to sleep in a nice way, not like, okay, that was his little sigh. I don't know if you heard it. But if you're like, okay, thank you, troll, for defending me, you can cover the back sensors. It's gonna light up, and it's gonna fall asleep, which is turn off. So that's your little pet troll, Evo. And so what your class can do with the robot is sort of change like how fast it's moving, how wide is that arc for checking, how far should the distance be. You'll want to change this one for sure. It's set to see quite a lot and it might activate when it shouldn't. So you'll want to kind of test and decide what do you want from that. How often do you want it to sigh or how long should the sigh be? If your students are more advanced, they can find different things that they want to create and edit to make their own troll. And then if you're interested, if you're interested in decorating your trolls, just be sure to put on those extra skins onto your bot. You can glue things onto them, you can put stickers on, but you definitely want that skin on your bot. So, yep, so this is a pre-made program for your troll. I'll exit this and go back. Okay, and then again with the theme of Hour of Code, promoting computer science as a whole, one thing that's really important with Hour of Code is the idea of pair programming. Pair programming, if you did not know, is a way for two people to use the same computer to work on a single program together. This is using Ozobot, but you can use what you've learned from this lesson in any way. So I'll show you that in this lesson, you can get these little kind of posters. They tell you what a navigator does. So a navigator sits next to the driver. They never grab the mouse or keyboard. You can see where this is going. They answer the driver's question. They point out problems and bugs. They make suggestions and they agree on style. So the navigator is maybe Tara in this case. If I'm creating a program, she'll say, oh, look out, you made a mistake, or, oh, what if we did this instead? And then after maybe 10 minutes or something, we'll swap. Or if I'm like, I have no idea how to do this, and she's like, oh, I know it, I have a quick fix, she'll jump into the driver's seat. And then the driver's seat is this one. So you are at the computer. You use the keyboard or mouse or tablet. You're writing the code. You explain what you're doing. So a driver doesn't want to leave the navigator in the dark. They shouldn't run off with the code. Listen to the advice, and then they agree on style or whatever needs agreed upon. So this could be good for hanging in your classroom even, and using with any lesson. Especially good for Ozobot, because that's when you're using a computer. You could probably do it with color codes and markers as well on the robot. And then just so you know, for this lesson, what you'll be doing is using Ozobot to get your robot through these rooms. So the two students programming together will take turns. There'll be one driver, one navigator here, and then once someone programs to get into this room, they'll switch. And they can be testing throughout, and they want to get into this finish box. And if there's 3 students, you can have 2 navigators and 1 driver. And yeah, so that is also a popular lesson. And I will move to, okay, so enough about Ozobot. What about color codes? I will show you a couple of those lessons that are in here. We've got a request from Hour of Code for some subject-based lessons. for last year. So we have a few of those that I'll show you. And then this year the theme was creativity. So we hope that you think that the story generator and the troll are creative, or at least open up your students' minds into creativity. So I'll show you these ones. Start with the single page one right here. This is our eclipse lesson. The goal here is to study how, first of all, how bodies will, oh, sorry, my app is on. How do bodies orbit another body, and like what does their orbit look like? And it would be elliptical and slightly offset. This is a very extreme exaggeration of what's actually happening, and then they'll also change speed depending on how far away you are from. So it's like if you're swinging something, you're letting out the line, it goes like a little bit slower because it's going further. And then the other part about this lesson, which I can't show you in this light, but if you have, can you grab me a bot from up there? If this is the moon changes phases, and no. Okay. Thank you. All right, so here's the Earth. That's the moon, and this is the sun. So if I have sunlight coming through, you'll see that the Earth has a shadow. And then when the moon is in the shadow, that's when there's an eclipse. And then you saw, I'll just put it back. When Evo is in front of the sunlight, between the sun and the Earth, then the shadow of the moon covers the Earth. This is a way to show like a science experiment in your classroom. It also includes some coding in the robots. All right. So that is, the lesson is called Celestial Mechanics and Eclipses, or the other way around. So it's this one here. You get an empty map, and you'll find out some fun activities to do with this. Science lesson. Okay. And then this is, I'll just actually go to the lesson first. This one is for our younger kids using color codes where they're practicing writing their name quite clearly, but we're also going to challenge them to think kind of programmatically and like spatially. So as you can kind of see from the image here, children are going to write their name very clearly, but as maps for your bot. And so I'll show you what I have here at the same time. Basically, I wrote Bit's name. I was working with Bit at the time. And I know that up here, I'm going to want to get a U-turn. And down here, I'm going to want a U-turn. So I first practiced writing out these letters, and then I planned out with these arrows what I want to have happen. So here, I want my bot to jump this way. Now, I know that if I'm going this way, the code might go that way. But it's OK because it's going to go up, make a U-turn, and go down, and then go across. So if I want to turn right that way to get to the I, and then I want similar code to hopefully jump to the T and then make it to the end and maybe draw the entire name out. And so that is the challenge for your students. And so there's a few layers of drafting that they'll have to do. And then, so this might be what they do. So you've planned where the codes make sense, and you've already practiced drawing your name, and then you're going to place the codes. And then the final version of this is what you see in the picture on the screen. Is I've actually implemented the codes, and I've tested it with the bot, made sure everything worked. And that is a great coding activity. Probably take an hour with certain kids, maybe even middle schoolers. So that's a good one. Okay. And next on my list is to show you that, well, I think a lot of you or most of you have our bots. If you ever want to do an activity that doesn't require our robots, that is based on our stuff, we have a couple of lessons. This is also great if you have some friends who are considering getting the robots, or they don't know like what would be like a fun activity to do for their own hour of code, but they want to be about robots, they don't have robots, so you can do this how to program robots. This is going to be with Ozobot. It's actually our shape tracer game. And then it comes with a printable robot you can cut out and that you can have run the program. So you'll see the simulation on shape tracer. And if you're not familiar with Shape Tracer, I'll show it to you. So Shape Tracer is going to teach you how to use code blocks. And then it's got this great interface over here with a simulator. When I hit run, my robot's going to move one step while being red. You want to have lights on top. And I failed. I didn't draw the picture that it asked me to. So this is 10 levels that students can do self-directed or in groups, if you so choose. And you can load an Ozobot, but again, our goal here is to not need robots. And so I'll just show you our little cutout. There's an answer key for both levels. There's 2 levels. Excuse me. Okay, so here's our papercraft Ozobot. So you can cut out this 6-sided thing and put it together, and then you can color in with your own markers or crayons or whatever these different LED colors that you will have to program. So you'll have one of these, and then when you're debugging your program, you can encourage your students to create reading the program, not looking at the simulator, but reading their code and moving their robot the way it should. And they might find the bugs in their program if they couldn't before using this. All right. And then the other, just quickly, the other botless lesson is our screen-free program simulator. So for this one, these are worksheets where you're going to have some pseudocode, so it's not a specific coding language, and the students are going to read it, and they're going to have to draw the right lines, maybe with pencil first. So it says go to the next intersection, which is this one, and then pick direction straight, which is go straight, and then it says repeat. Think like, okay, like what turn is it, what intersection, and then keeping in mind like this turn is not an intersection, it is actually a continuing straight line, and then do you end up at this number 2 or at this number 1? So you'll have the answers. They're down here somewhere, yeah. So these are the solutions. So this is something you don't need a robot for, but if you have a robot, you can of course place it on the line. Yeah, so actually this could be a fun, even just like 15-minute like coding exercise, something in your, just a fun activity. And then this one, you're supposed to actually write out what the program would be. So this could be like a next level kind of program. Done with this. Okay. So we do have tons of lessons, and I'm actually going to go back to the activities here because it's going to be really easy while you're here to sort different things. Oopsie, I'm not on the robotics button. And then you choose Ozobot. So yeah, if you have a pre-reader class, what can you do? You can actually do all of these are listed that way. The kids are older, they're more experienced. What do we have? We've got these ones. For social studies, do not have that specific one. Math, we do have some math ones. And if you're new to Ozobot, but you do want to do some of these lessons, they seem a little bit more advanced, I'll just show you our lesson library. So go to portal.ozobot.com. You can also click on lessons on our main website through there. And this is your basic training. So if you want to get started with color codes, it's a self-paced series of activities with a teacher giving guidance at each new topic. And it's cut out into different grade groups. So pre-readers, younger kids, and then older kids will go through it faster. So you might want to start with that if you're new. And these activities are optional, of course. And then for Ozoblockly, we have the same thing where we have a single lesson recommended for different age groups, K to 1, 2 to 5, 6 plus. All depends on whether your kids are able to read and use a computer well. Depends on which option you choose here. I also want to point out this document. This is how to teach Ozoblockly. It says lesson. It is a guide, so we're going to update that. But you can choose, what are you going to do with your Ozobot with Ozoblockly? So everyone wants to do those basic trainings that I pointed out. Those are those 3 lessons. So you want to do that. It's just a single lesson. Maybe you cut it into 2 with some extra practice. That's fine. And then are you teaching computer science subjects or Ozoblockly skills, which is more sort of like engineering or creating your own programs, just out of curiosity, less computer sciencey. So as you go through this document, you'll learn about each of the basic training, computer science, what are our offerings specifically. We have a high school one coming soon, and then specific recommended lessons. You can do these instead of the ones on the Hour of Code website if you so choose. And then more info on what is Ozoblockly skills, what do we mean. So things like getting your bot to move a little bit more straight because they're so tiny, especially for a bit, they can kind of veer off a little bit with different speeds of the motors at just at such a tiny level that they look like they're veering off, and they are veering off enough. So how can you maybe fix that? And then turning, and then using functions in your programs, and this will be expanded. These are ideas for your class. So if you're like a 3rd grade class and you want to use Ozoblockly, start with basic training. Maybe you do Magellan's Journey, you fit that into your history or social studies part. You can do the eclipses. In celestial mechanics one, there is a Ozoblockly component to that. The multiplication lesson, and then a fairy tale lesson using Ozoblockly. So these are just an example of things to integrate. And I'm going to close this. You can find that here. And yes, and so this is our lesson library. If you want more than just the Hour of Code offerings, which are also listed here if you're ever looking for it, you can scroll through this or click here to see them all. They all live here. And if you want to search for more than Hour of Code, you can also use our search. Click through our filters. You've got both robots. You want to teach math, later grades, after school program. This is you. You want to use, well, you want both of those, so we can leave it blank. All right, so here are your options. And that's how you use our search filter. And I think that is all I wanted to say.
Awesome. Okay, so let me come back on. And let me share my screen really fast. If you're planning on organizing an hour of code, a day of code, a week of code, whatever it may be, we encourage you to go on the website and actually register. So I'm on the Hour of Code website right now. I'm going to scroll down, and right here is the registration section. So go ahead and fill out that information, and then they'll add you as a little pinpoint on the map right here, and you'll be included in the Hour of Code community. So if you haven't already done that and you're planning on doing that Hour of Code, please go register. And then for all the links that we've sent out, everything we went over, all of the lessons, we will be sending a follow-up email that has the links to everything in the presentation. So that will be coming shortly after, I would say within a few days. So don't worry if you didn't get to jot everything down during this webinar. You'll be able to access all of those links. And then we can also watch other webinars. So this is just one of many webinars that we've done and that we will be doing. So if you want to check out future webinars or even some past webinars, all you have to do is go to ozobot.com and click on Educators tab at the top here, and you'll see our webinars and PD section. I'm going to click on that and scroll down just a little bit. You'll see all of the upcoming webinars that we have. Our next one that we planned is the Winter Wonderland Holiday Lessons. And scroll all the way down, you'll see our past webinars. So if you are looking to learn how to use your new Evo, for those of you who haven't purchased, and now that you've seen this, you really want to get an Evo, you can scroll all the way down here, and we have our how to teach with Ozobot Evo lesson. We have deconstruction, we have teaching color codes, basic training, we have a Halloween webinar that we just did that covers certain holidays. We have the Winter Wonderland coming up, and I'm sure there'll be some other holiday specific lessons. So always keep a lookout for our emails because we'll highlight all the webinars coming up. And we are going to go ahead and open up the question section right now. So go ahead and type in whatever questions you had during the presentation into that little section on the control panel. While you guys are typing in your questions, I do want to point out, just type in your general questions. If there's any troubleshooting or support that you need, it's kind of hard for us to do it over the webinar right now. So you can always reach out to support@ozobot.com, and we have a team that will help you with any troubleshooting that you need, any questions you have about the robot, and then any education specific questions, you can always reach out to ozoedu@ozobot.com. And again, the follow-up email that's sent to you will be coming from ozoedu. So if you have any follow-up questions, go ahead and reply back to that, and it comes straight to us. Now I will go ahead and start the questions. Okay. So someone was asking about, will this be available for later viewing? So just went over that, how you can find it on our webinars page, and anyone registered will get a copy of the recording sent to them.
And then Ozobot on Chromebooks, it is just a website, so it does work on basically everything. So
yeah, so you're just going to ozobot.com. You can pull it up on your Chromebook, your tablet, your desktop, laptop. You can even pull it up on your phone.
If you're having trouble loading programs with Ozobot, I'll just open my camera. Then things like closing out tabs helps. Definitely you gotta change your brightness at 100%, and then if there's any kind of brightness adjusting setting, you have to turn that off. Some computers come with like a blue light dimmer, which changes all the colors on your screen, which completely breaks the color flash loading. So you want to make sure that's off as well. And then if there's anything else, again, troubleshooting, you can contact support. But yes, it will work.
Okay. If you had 1 hour to work with a variety of grade levels, K to 12, what would you cover?
I guess it depends on if you want to use color codes or Ozobot. Ozobot, they will potentially be new to it and loading programs and stuff. If you want to do that, then I would recommend any lesson that has a pre-made program. So let me steal the screen. Oh wow, what did I do? Can I take the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Send it back over to you.
Okay. So, and I'll go back here. So, programs that have lessons with pre-made Ozobot programs include, I want to see all of everything. So the troll one does have one, but it's a little bit more advanced. The force field one has a pre-made program where you're using Evo's proximity sensors, but that's Evo only. Let's see. I'll go back to our lesson library to show you lessons. Let's see, 4 different grades. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you also if you just have ozobot.com/editor. There's actually a ton of examples. So if it's maybe more of a hectic time and it's like hard to regulate, you could just open up one of our examples, which lives here. So we have tons of examples that you can open, and then students can edit. You can give them a challenge. So for example, our Ozobot training, actually it challenges kids to change this program that tells Bit or Evo to walk in a square to move in a rectangle, and what would that look like? Well, you would not want the same thing 4 times, but you would want 2 different things 2 times. I'll just duplicate that. So that, and then if you, there it is, there's the answer. Or is it? No, it's not. My bad. This is it. So you want to move a long length, turn, move a short length, turn, and then do it again. You get a rectangle. So that's an example of something you could do. Shape tracer, again, that lives at games.ozoblockly.com. These are where shape tracer live, and then students can play these on their own if you want to make sure they do that. And then, but the color code activities, we do have things labeled as activities. If you just want to throw that to them, tell them, give them a color code reference guide, and then say, do this activity, that would also work. So this is about presidents, if you're into that. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay.
You can definitely explore the library a lot more too.
Okay.
You want your screen back?
No, you can keep it. Okay, let's see. My kids love to color code with Ozobot bit, but they aren't entirely into the lessons. How can I make it more enjoyable?
Well,
I guess it kind of depends on the lesson that you're doing.
Yeah.
I
suppose if it feels a little repetitive and dry, that's no good. But
I have an example.
Okay.
I had a science teacher that was doing animal classification, and the students had to come up with their own animal, give it its different traits and characteristics, name it, and interact with all of the other animals in the classroom. So not only did they have that assignment and they had to come up with the animals, but they also used their Ozobots, or they got to decorate them as their animals. So they would take different fabrics or pipe cleaner or whatnot. They even used their 3D printers, and they created basically their animal by just decorating the Ozobot. So that made it really fun because the kids got to use their creative side and put little costumes on top of the Ozobot, dress it up, make it look like a little bowl for a turtle or whatnot. And so it was fun when they started interacting with the other Ozobots in the classroom. So there's little things that you can do like that to each lesson.
And then like even posing it as like a puzzle versus like homework might be a little bit more engaging. And then I'm showing you right now this non-standard measurement. Basically, this teacher created a loop out of paper. And it's not any specific length, but it is going to create a length of an Ozo loop. So whatever a complete roll of this is a Ozo loop. And I'll show you what's even happening. You can see in the picture, but basically you draw a single black line, maybe with a speed code inside, and you have your robot inside, and it's following that line, causing the paper to turn, which is really fun. So in this lesson, the students measure their own height from their little body drawings. You can do different things with that, but even just coming up with like, oh, you know, like how could you recreate a slinky with your Ozobot using color codes? Like what would that even look like? I don't know, but it's just like a random idea that you could throw together.
Okay. I did have a question about someone wanting to know the pronunciation because there's different pronunciations going around. So it is Ozobot, like ozone, and Ozobot is the brand of robots that we make, and then we have two different models. So we have Bit and then Evo. So Ozobot's the umbrella, and Bit and Evo fall underneath it, because I know a lot of teachers will ask where to find the product, and they'll say Ozobit or Ozo Evo, and people are not sure what they're talking about. So yeah, just wanted to point out Evo, but yeah.
And not always in black. So we do have different.
Yeah, black and white.
So this one's, so you can tell them apart because Evo has more LEDs, the proximity sensors. It's physically larger, but if you're not comparing them, you can also read on the bottom. It says Ozobot Evo on the back here, and down here it does say Ozobot Bit.
Okay. Is there a video training or example going over Ozobot basics? For example, clicking the power button once or twice, how to get different colors and what each color combination does when using markers,
So
etc.
we do have, we've changed our educator homepage to be, or our quick start page to be kind of like a training. It's actually going to pull you all the way through our system, and it's really quick and easy, so that's great. Thank you for bringing it up. So I get to share this. So step one, you've got your bot. What do you do? This is about the classroom kit, setting up this in your classroom. And then this first video, when you click that, it's getting to know your bot, things like power button, etc. And then when you go to color codes, that's going to teach you about how to use the color codes and some tips and tricks. And then Ozoblockly is actually a walkthrough with one of our members of the team here. He's going to walk you through our tutorial that's inside of Ozoblockly right now, which is that pop-up that I was closing. So these are all great ways to get into the system and to understand it. So those are the 3 things you need. And then when you're ready to teach students, of course, lesson library, student handouts, and then other resources that you need. So this is a great page. Again, this is the quick start part of our educators menu. So yes, that answers that.
Yeah. There are also, if you scroll, I know there was the color code, they're asking about like the color code pages. So if you scroll down to the bottom, the color code chart, if you click on that, that will show you what each of the color sequences mean.
And this is multiple pages, so this is our codes, and then if you wanted a simplified version without words for your pre-readers, we have this too.
And then, so that's what you can hand it out to the students. They can keep it with them, and when they're drawing the color codes, so that they know what each sequence means. And then we also have the Ozobot tip sheet, which will go over the calibration and the line drawing. So how to draw the line so that the Ozobot follows it and reads the codes correctly, where not to put the color codes. For example, you don't want to put a color code in the middle of an intersection. You want to put it before the intersection so that the Ozobot can read the code and then react to whatever the code told it to do at that intersection. So little tips like that. Now, there are videos on all of this on our YouTube channel. So you just go to youtube.com, search Ozobot, and then we have all of our tips and tricks up there. And those videos are friendly for students as well. So you can definitely have them go check that out, watch quick little 1 to 2 minute videos on their Ozobot and how to get them working. Okay. So we want to get that question.
Can you that one, the high school?
Okay, so what is a great example for a high school ELA? Only saw the fairy tale lessons.
So I really love this lesson. It is the only one we have for ELA at a high school level, but you can kind of use it as like a template for your own kinds of things. And then if you have an idea for a lesson, you can totally submit it to us, and we would love to have it. It's called Odyssey. So this is using the Odyssey. I don't know if your class is reading it, but what I love about this lesson is that what you're doing is coding a journey of a character from their point of view. So you will create a map from, I'm going to use Harry Potter because I don't know Odyssey. So you might start with, it's not first person Harry Potter, but it's following him, right? You kind of get his emotions and his reactions to things. But what if it was from like Hermione or Dumbledore's point of view? Like if it was Dumbledore, he would be like, I see, don't worry. Like there'd be a lot less stress. But then like Harry Potter, like he's like zigzagging and like spinning, and he's like, Voldemort. So you would have 2 characters see the same situation very differently, which is the point of this lesson, which I thought was like a really great way to have Ozobots personify a character and then change it, like you're programming it to like be a different character. So I love that. You could do that one, but we would love to have more, so feel free to send.
Yeah, you can always send in your lessons and share them with us.
I think the link's at the bottom of the lesson library, actually. So. Yes.
Submit your lessons. So definitely fill that out and share it with us if you have any ideas. You can also go on to our social media pages. So we have an active group of educators on Facebook and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if you search in Ozobot on Facebook and then at Ozobot on Twitter, and you can see all the examples of what other educators are doing in their classrooms. So you can find some stuff on there too.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you find the Bot Camp workbook? I'm gonna let you show since you have the screen. So that's back at the Quick Start Guide again.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to find any materials or resources that you know about, it's going to be on this Quick Start page for sure.
Yeah. So the Bot Camp, for those of you who do not know, is our teacher training that goes through color codes and Ozobot, including the tutorial in Ozobot itself, which I'm going to re-show you that tutorial because that is right in the editor. You don't have to worry too much about it. And then I'll show you the Bot Camp. So when you're here, you can click Start Tutorial, and it's going to pull open this menu, and then you can minimize these and maximize. So first, what's your setup? Here's a quick tour of your space, and that is basically the Bot Camp in Ozobot. But here, if you want to look at the digital version, print it out yourself for the color codes, Bot Camp is going to tell you some tips and tricks for things you can do in your classroom, how to explain what a code is, why is color coding actually coding, what can you learn from it, what's engaging, more information about calibration. Kids are actually, like even first graders, if you explain how it's like, well, you have to tell the robot like how much light is in the room so it can see the colors properly, like they, for some reason, glom onto that information, which I just adore. It's really great. So yeah, when you do each activity, which teaches something new, we also give you some student prompts, real world connections, any extra tips. So things like how to hold the marker to get the right thing. So I don't have one with me, I'm sorry, but the markers that we have are chisel tips. So if you just turn it, you can get like that perfect thickness of a line. So just like this picture, if you hold the marker just right, you'll get that thickness, which is why we don't recommend like the pointy markers or like
the Crayola like fine.
Yeah,
fine
they're not thick
tip.
enough, and you have to go over it again. If you go over it with color, they get darker. So that's the other thing about color codes is you do want to only go over the color once if you're drawing a color code. What I like to do is, I can show you randomly, show you with my pink pencil. If I'm drawing, let's see, if I'm drawing a line, I'll draw like this, like top to bottom, getting that thickness of the chisel tip. So if I'm drawing this line and then I come to a color code, what I'll do is I'll turn my hand and I'll go left to right one time, the width of that line, and then again, I'll maybe change my color and then do that left to right, and then I can continue my line. That will give you a single shade of the color. You don't want to color it in, it'll look black to the robot. And then that's a nice, easy way to get the right codes.
So that's really great for students and their fine motor skills.
Mm-hmm.
Little tips that you can give them. So most of our activities will already have the little color code box whited out, and then the students can kind of follow the shape of that box and draw in that color. And then if all else fails and they're just too young to be able to draw those color codes, they're finding it difficult, we do have the stickers. Now they're one-time use stickers, so you can buy those, or I've had teachers print out the color codes on Avery sticker labels, so you can reuse those too, and then just kind of stick a couple stickers on top of it, and if they mess up, you could also white it out too. So those are some other little tips and tricks for doing the color codes. You can't use crayons. Someone just asked that. No crayons and no Expo markers, because the Expo marker is erasable, and that will lead to the Ozobot's little wheels right there on the bottom, going over that Expo marker, picking up some of that marker, getting lodged up in the wheel, and then you'll have some issues with it driving. So we just don't want that to happen. So stay away from those. And then there was a calibration question really fast. So they should only need to be calibrated once before each use. And if you switch from digital to physical, you just need to calibrate it again once to the paper that you're using. and then it will be good to go. It will stay calibrated. If there are some issues every once in a while, say the Ozobot's not reading the code properly, and you might just want to recalibrate it again. If the kids are using a different shade of marker and one bot was working on one and one was working on the other, then just calibrate it. It should fix it all up. And then if you move back from markers and paper to the screen, make sure that you calibrate to the screen as well. So we've actually reached our time right now, unless...
And there are just several questions about what are the best activities or where to find them. Go to our lesson library, use the search. You can choose between activities and lessons to find things easily. Choose between Ozobot and color codes to find what you need, and that'll get you started.
Yeah, so we hope that you really do have a happy hour of code. We hope that the students are really excited about these activities. So make sure to look out for that follow-up email. It should be coming out within a week, and then you can always rewatch the webinar on our webinars and PD section as well. So everyone have a great rest of your day. Have a great hour of code, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Bye.